imposter syndrome. If you've ever felt like you're not good enough to do something, you've been working on a project, and all of a sudden this starts to get in the way, and you start to doubt all the work that you've put in. If you start to wonder whether it's just even worth any of the time that you've put in, you start to self-sabotage. And even though I've been an entrepreneur for 12 and a half years now, I still suffer from it. But there's some things I can tell you to help your mindset. The persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own effort or skills. So, in other words, you don't really believe that you deserve the things that you are either setting out for or even have already, right? This is where the fear of success might come from, and that's just another fancy way of saying imposter syndrome. Now, I know this all too well. When I had gotten laid off from my architecture job in 2008, right? I had spent 5 years in school to become an architect. I had spent 4.5 years on my way to becoming an architect professionally, and that's what I wanted to do. And yet I still got let go. And all that work that was put into it, I almost had this sunk cost fallacy that, okay, well, that's what I was supposed to do. So going into entrepreneurship, I was like, well, if I do well here, does that sort of undermine all the hard work that I did over here in the architecture world? Maybe I don't want it to succeed, because then that would make it feel like all this other stuff was a waste, right? And then, you know, as I was becoming an entrepreneur and learning that I had to put myself out there and actually, you know, connect with people and communicate. I couldn't just hide behind my keyboard the entire time. Well, then it became even more of a relational thing, right? And myself as an introvert, it's not bad to be an introvert. It's just a way that you are, and you have to use that to your advantage if you can. But there were so many reasons for me to believe that other people wouldn't find value in any conversation that I would start, or, you know, what do I even have to offer this space? And even though my first business was actually related to architecture, it was about a very specific exam that I didn't do really well in. I passed, but who was I to teach people this stuff when I barely passed? And long story short, I ended up creating a website that helped tens of thousands of people pass this exam, and people's lives were changed as a result of that. And so when I think about it, I'm like, wow, was I really going to let my fear get in the way of all that? Well, at the time, all I could think about was, I'm not worthy. And then there were the times when I was going to be speaking on stages, and, you know, that's like real people in front of me and real time that they're taking out of their day, and hopefully my 45 minutes on stage is going to be worth it. But what if it's not? What if they start throwing tomatoes at me? What if they start, you know, booing me, and I kind of run off stage and I trip and fall and I end up naked in a ditch somewhere? I mean, I know that sounds silly, but honestly, that's how my brain, and I know many of your brains, sort of think. We think worst case scenarios about things. And so the thing that I do to battle that now is I often ask myself, well, truly, like honestly, what is and that honesty part's very important. What is the worst thing that could ever happen here, right? And typically, when we think about that in reality, it's not as bad as we make it out to be. But then on the flip side, I always go, okay, well, compare that to, well, what's the best thing that can happen? And of all the times that I've felt this self-doubt, this resistance, this imposter syndrome, I've always found that the rewards far outweigh the actual risks that happen or are available. Another time, I spent 3 months and several $1,000s to create an online course, and I truly was really excited about it until it was the day of the launch, and I pulled back. I pulled back on it, and this was back in 2010, and it was on my architecture sort of exam website. I didn't think I was worthy enough to create an online course about this. There were already other courses out there, and many of them were absolutely great, but I didn't feel that mine was good enough. Right. And as a result, people were going to maybe ask for refunds, or, you know, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to get sued as a result of all this stuff. And that's not true. But that's what I was thinking. And it's weird because every time I feel like I'm able to do these great things, just like you are likely able to realize that some of your dreams are just so close to you and so within reach that you start finding ways to get out of that, to go back to your comfort zone, right? I call it the adult binky. We all have versions of an adult binky. It might be our job that maybe we're not happy with, but we just feel comfortable at, or it could be a relationship, or it can be food. It could be, for me, it's social media, right? We all have our versions of an adult binky, right? Because like a binky, like a pacifier, babies suck on it because it's comforting, right? Or blanket. Anyway, I'm sort of rambling here, right? I was considering a video where I'd go, okay, here are the 10 things you can do to overcome imposter syndrome. But honestly, I just wanted to turn the camera on and be real with you, because a lot of this stuff is messy. It's hard to organize all the things that are going on in our brain. But the one sort of thought experiment I want to share with you before we finish up here really helped me. And I don't know where I got this from. I don't think I created it, but it doesn't really matter. I want to pass it on to you. And it's this idea of whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's a book you're trying to write, a podcast you're trying to create, a video channel that you've been struggling to get going with, or something bigger, a full-on business idea, or whatever it might be, right? The thing that has the amazing thing on the other end of that fear. I want you to think about the people that are affected by that, right? If you were to actually do that thing, who would benefit from it? Likely a lot of people, right? Especially if you're a business owner or you're a content creator. I mean, think of all the people out there who could listen to your show or watch it or benefit from the product that you could create, right? Hopefully you're doing this for those reasons, to serve others and help people, because that's what all great businesses do and entrepreneurs should look for. But imagine that those people in their own world are drowning. They're drowning in struggle and challenges or whatever inconveniences that you will create a solution for, or have information about, or inspire out of. And here you are, you're on this boat, right? And they're drowning in the water next to you. And imagine you have the life ring, you have the information, you have the ability to serve and help those people. And they go, hey, I need help, throw it. And you go, no, I've never done it before. Or, no, I don't know if I could perfectly get it over to you. Or you go, no, I don't think I'm good enough to throw this. Like, I'm going to have a weak arm. Can you imagine just how selfish that is, to think those thoughts when a person is literally right there in front of you drowning? Well, you wouldn't do that in real life, but that's what we do online, because we don't actually see the person who we could potentially help.